Welcome back, guys. Come on in, have a seat. Welcome back to the Money News and Loadboard Show. We got another good one for this weekend. We'll go in and see what we got going on for the week. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I'm running a little bit late with this one, guys, but trying to do these from, let's say, with the way Swift and their paid weeks work. The new week begins on Wednesday, and then we cut off on Tuesdays, and then the next settlement comes out, or that pay comes out on the next Monday. So I'm running a little late on this one. From now on, guys, I'm going to try to do these not from the office here because I'm home on the weekend here, but we'll try to do these from the truck, and I'll try to get them out a little bit earlier to you guys. And then again, if you guys like them from the office here, we'll shoot them from the office and go through them that way. It might be a little bit easier to show you the load board that way. I'm not sure, but we can go through that. Like I say, guys, Money News and the Load Board Show. This is the show. I'm gonna try to do this every week for you guys, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm making as a truck driver out here on the road, as an owner operator, lease purchase, whatever you want to call it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're paying for the truck and you're paying for all the expenses, you're the owner at that point. I look at leasing a little bit different than most of these guys out here, most of these goofballs. Leasing, to me, a truck is like you would come out here and lease a car, or lease anything else, lease a piece of equipment, lease an airplane, lease a helicopter, lease a boat. It's something that has its advantages and disadvantages. If you want to own a truck, like I've done in the past, then leasing is probably not for you. You should probably go out and take some cash and buy a truck. If you want to drive a new truck every couple of years or every 3 or 4 years, and you want less headache, you want to be able to use that truck against your taxes and take that off of your taxes as an operating expense for your company, things like that, then leasing may be the way to go. The one thing I stress, guys, is what you should do is do what's best for you. I know a lot of guys want to jump on Facebook, want to jump on the internet, and they want to say, well, what should I do? Guys, it depends on what you're trying to do for your family and trying to do for yourself. You should do and make the decisions that are the best for you. And you shouldn't let, I always call them these guys that they get these long nosed trucks because their mom and dad died and gave them some inheritance money, or they're driving their daddy's old truck or something like that. Very rarely, guys, have I ever met a driver of a long nosed truck that put in the work and had it because he didn't get something to get some way to help him. And I think that leasing is one of the ways you can do that. Is if you really want to get into this market, and especially now with the market the way it is, if you want to lease a truck, and that's the only way to go, and you want to be an owner someday, or an owner operator, or a lease operator, or whatever, that's just maybe the way to do it, I guess. But again, that's something you need to try to figure out for your family. But let's do this, guys. Let's jump right into it. Guys, do me a favor. Let me know about the sound too, because I'm not using the microphone this week. I want to know if the sound is good. So let's give me some feedback on that. As far as housekeeping, guys, like I said, this show I'm going to try to do every week. Money, news, and load board show. The money part is just going to be what I'm doing or what I did for the week. The news part is going to be a lot of either strictly news to Swift or some big news in the trucking community. I'm not going to dig for news and stuff like that because you can see that somewhere else. That's not here. What you guys want to come here for is the news about what Swift's doing, news, stuff like that. And then the load board show, we'll basically do some load board requests if that's what you want. I can show you the load board once I get set up to do that. And yeah, we can go from there, and just, again, news about the load board and stuff like that. So, guys, let's do this. Let's jump right into it. This was going to be for the week of, let's see here. So it would have been the 6th. 4. So, guys, this would have been the week of July 29th. Let me write it down here. July 29th. Through August the 4th. So that would have been the one. So we'd be getting paid on that one tomorrow. So again, like I said, July 29th through August 4th. Guys, these are the numbers as I got them. These are the loads that I picked from the load board. I picked every one of these loads through the load board. If I go back onto my load board here, guys, and I look at my scorecard, which is how Swift keeps up with the loads and how you're doing, I got 100% on time performance, which means I show up when I'm supposed to. And that's one of the things, guys. If you guys don't show up when you're supposed to, and you don't, you accept these loads and you take these loads off this load board, and you don't do what you're supposed to, they'll kick you off the load board. So I try to pride myself on that. No cancellations on my scorecard. And then I've got a load board usage of 83%, which means I've used the load board 83% of the time. I think since I've been back, I've taken maybe 1 or 2 loads from the planners now, as just not really thinking about it. Just it seemed they sent me a load and I seemed like, okay, I'll do that. But every other load's come off the load board, and I feel like I've done really well with it. But let's jump right into it, guys. On to start this week, or last week, basically. On the 28th, July 28th, I took a load. What is it, 28th? Yeah, so it would have delivered on the 29th. So the first load I got on this week was Albany, Georgia to Summerville, South Carolina. That load paid $714, for 312 miles. Then the next load was Summerville, South Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina, $535.80 for 186 miles. And then that was last Friday. I couldn't find a load to get home from Charlotte, so I deadheaded, which I had a little bit of higher deadhead than I usually like. So I deadheaded from Summerville back to Charleston and picked up a load late Friday night. That would have been the 31st, and that went to Talladega, Alabama. Now that load picked up on Friday evening and I delivered it Monday morning. So it was a hold all weekend load, which I don't really like those either. I don't like tying the trailer up or tying my loads up like that. But I was able to leave on Sunday, which I do like, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and I delivered that. I got to Talladega on Sunday evening, delivered it first thing in the morning, so I'd already had that done. That load paid $1,045.10 at 412 with the mileage. Then from there, I deadheaded back over to Lithia Springs, was the closest thing I could get. And that load went from Lithia Springs to Kissimmee, Florida. That paid $1,134 at 464 miles. And then once I got that one dropped in Kissimmee on Tuesday, I picked one up in Lakeland, which was right around the corner, and I took it back to Lake Park, Georgia, $312.75 at 215 miles. So that was the loads I ran for the week. The way that broke down, guys, was I had, and remember, guys, we don't talk truck payment over here. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Your payment is going to be different. You could have no truck payment. You could have a higher truck payment. So truck payment doesn't really matter. What we talk about is the numbers as they are, and they come to me. We talk about the fixed costs. We talk about the fuel I used, what was left over, and we'll talk about my little bit of overhead, that kind of thing. So as far as loaded miles for the week, I did 1,645 loaded miles. I had 351 deadhead miles, which left me at 1,996. That was all miles. Gross for the week, I did $3,749.15. That was a little light for me, but you got to think I took the weekend off. And then a couple of the loads I should have picked better, but it kept me like in the loop where I wanted to be at. So gross $37.49.15 is a little bit lighter than what I wanted. Fixed costs from Swift, this is what everybody's going to pay, or what you're going to pay. Yours may be more, yours may be less. I took things like the deductible buy down and stuff like that. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I'd always do. $262. Fuel, I did $1,452 in fuel, which was a little higher than I wanted to be at, but I didn't get to fuel the way I want to. Guys, the way I fuel is, I live here in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Fuel here is cheaper. So what I do is I usually fill the truck up to the gills at the beginning of the week, and then I try to run all week and then spot a little bit if I have to in the end of the day, put a little bit in it. So 1,452 miles in fuel. Left over at the end of the day, that left me $2,035. That's what came back to me. And then as far as my overhead, I think I've told you this is something you guys won't have, but overhead to me runs about 266 per week. That's things for like my storage unit, my health care. I pay for my health care, my storage unit, my truck spot that I pay for, my secure truck spot, things like that. My telephones, all my business expenses for my LLC, minus um, uh, everything that runs for the fixed cost for the truck through Swift. Now, you take that out of it, and then of course that doesn't include my driver pay that I pay back to myself, because the way I run the business, guys, is I run the company, or I run the truck through the business, and then what I do is I pay myself as a driver. So I give myself, and that's you should pay yourself as a driver too. I think it works out better that way. And as far as anything else, that's kind of where we're at with it. That'll give you an idea of the numbers. Guys, $2,000 a week, and then not considering your truck payment, I think that is I think it's a decent week when you got to think that I never left. The farthest I went was Talladega, Alabama, right over the border there into Georgia. I didn't chase a bunch of I didn't chase money up into New England. I didn't chase money out west. I didn't chase money into the Chicago, Wisconsin area. I stayed right here in my little hometown, where I kind of know what everything is and what's going on here in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, that kind of thing. And I joked around with somebody this week that I was never farther than about 5 hours away from home. And that's one of the things with, with me having a family and stuff like that. If something were to happen, I had an emergency and I needed to get back home, I could. If I needed to cancel a load and get back home, I could. So I thought that was kind of nice. As far as news, guys, with Swift, I really don't have anything. It seems like Swift is plugging right along here with the money and with the freight. It seems like the freight is out there if you want to run it. They've got, just looking at the load board here, I know you guys can't see it here, but just looking at the map here, they've got freight all over the country. It seems like it gets light up into New England. That would be the only place that, and I really don't care to run that anymore. When I was with Landstar and Mercer, I would run that quite a bit. I don't really care anything about running that anymore. They got a ton of loads here in the Southeast, a ton of loads in Ohio, Pennsylvania, that Indiana corridor right there. They run a ton of loads there through there. They got to seem like they have a lot of loads. If you're out in like California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, those states, they have a lot of loads. Down into the Southeast, it's really the only places really, guys, where they don't have a lot of loads, it seems like, is up in that North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, obviously those, and then up in the Northeast, which has always been like kind of hit or miss for me, trying to get a load out of the Northeast. But as far as the news, guys, I don't really have anything as far as news. They seem to be plugging along, seem to be doing what they say as far as I'm concerned. Not really anything as far as news. So Loadboard, let's jump into the Loadboard, because I know that's why you guys come here. Loadboard, as far as numbers, guys, I've seen the board as far as how many loads are on the board. One day that I've seen loads out of Georgia, more than 100 loads out of Georgia on a day. Excuse me. I've seen loads out of the Carolinas and Virginia in the 20s and 30s on a particular day. There's a guy on one of our groups here, the Swift groups, that's running the numbers on the load board. I went back and looked. Last night he ran some numbers, and there were 244 loads on a Saturday night on the load board that were available. Now, obviously, with today being Sunday, there's a lot more than that. And if you take, and again, I know you guys can't see this, currently there are 30 loads out of Georgia, there's 10 out of South Carolina, 25 out of Florida, 27 out of Illinois, 29 out of Indiana, 38 out of Ohio, and 55, it looks like, out of Pennsylvania. So just in those, you got 25, 50, 75, 100. You got about 150 loads right there between Illinois and Pennsylvania. And the way it seems more like with the load board, what they do is they load the load board in the mornings. It gets kind of dry in the evenings. That's what I was saying. The gentleman ran these numbers here, 244 loads last night. But you still think on a Saturday, that's still to me a lot of loads. That's a lot more loads than were here when I was here prior. But let's say that. So another thing that he does is he runs the load board, these figures somewhere. I just took all of the loads between $2 and $3.50 a mile. He breaks them down into mileage and in how much they're paying from 70% all the way, I think, down through 45% of the load. And I'll touch on that in a second. But he ran the loads between $2 and $3.50 a mile. 67.6% of the loads fall into that $2 to $3.50 a mile, guys. So there's a lot of loads out there that still pay decent money. The only thing that I have, let me say this first. If you guys have a load board request, leave it in the comments. Send it to me on Facebook. Excuse me. You guys follow me on Facebook, send it over on Facebook, send it over through YouTube, and just put where you want me to look, and I'll when we do the next load board, I'll try to pull them up and we'll look at them just like that. Excuse me. But yeah, guys, there's a lot of freight out there. Obviously, there's a lot of loads that need to be run. Now is a good time, is a great time if you guys want to jump in. And do this. Like I said, either you're going to go out and get a truck and go somewhere else. We obviously would like for you to come over and work with us at Swift. You can do that. But guys are making money out here, and they're making decent money for the first time. And for me, in about probably about 3.5 years, 4 years, really. But the loads seem to be there. Swift seems to be doing great. My truck seems to be doing great. I should be ordering a truck next month. If you guys still have I would still like some feedback on what you guys think as far as the Peterbilt or going back with a Freightliner. I'm a Freightliner guy. I've always driven Freightliners. But I thought about going with a Pete this time. And just tell me what the pros and cons are if you think the Pete is better or the Freightliner. And then, of course, next time we'll try to get the load board. You guys have some load board requests, and we'll get to those. One thing I do want to talk about, gentlemen, is that the Swift put this out there, and it's one of the reasons why I came back, that they were paying 70% of the load. And then they came back and they said, well, 70% of the load, we may have to adjust that a little bit because of the way the rates are and stuff like that. If you want my honest opinion, I think it's skimming off the top is what I would just call it. And that's fine. You want to skim off the top and you want to say one thing and then not do that you and you're going to have to live with the consequences of doing that, whatever they may be, or if there are any. A lot of the loads seem to be somewhere in the 45 to 65 range right now. You do have some loads that are still 70%. You have a lot of these Uber Freight loads that and I don't know how many of you guys know this, Uber Freight, we're starting to pull off the Uber Freight load board too now, which I've taken a couple of those loads. I've always had difficulty with Uber Freight. I accidentally took one. I think this next load I'm getting in the morning is actually a Uber Freight load, which I took it by accident. But in the past, when I was with Landstar and Mercer, I worked with Uber Freight, and it just was not, for a lot of the headache. For instance, I picked up a load last week. This load that went from Lithia Springs to Kissimmee. I was there in Lithia Springs at, I want to say 10:30 or 10 o'clock or 10:30 in the morning to pick that load up on Monday morning. Uber Freight would not release the pickup number until, I want to say the appointment was at 2 o'clock. I had picked up at this warehouse recently and knew that I could pick up there early. That's why I showed up there early. And the way I book my loads is I book them back to back to back, so close. Because I know that I can get to these places, or it's a drop and hook and I'll be in and out of there, that kind of thing. So I picked up at this warehouse before. I knew that I could pick up early, so that's why I showed up early. Well, when Uber Freight wouldn't release the pickup number until 2 o'clock, of course that led me setting for 3 hours. Then on top of that, I had to sit for 2 hours while they loaded the trailer, which I was not a happy camper. So I've run into problems with Uber Freight. That's why I tend not to take their loads. But I made a mistake and actually took one, which I don't remember it being listed as an Uber Freight load. I'll have to go back and look, but it is what it is at this point. I've already accepted it, so I'll have to take it. But that would be my only complaint: getting Uber Freight, these Uber Freight loads more situated and in a proper working environment as far as the information. And then Swift skimming off the top a little bit. And like I said, that's just the way I there's no other way to say it, is when you tell a driver that you're going to give him 70% and then your loads are at 45, 55, and 65. That's kind of chintzy to me. We all know that the freight market's up. We're all making money. We know Swift's making money. If you told us 70%, that's what you should put it at, 70%, just plain and simple. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy over here. I want to say I hit the 30-day mark. That's going to be my next video, is the 30-day review on Swift and how it's going so far. I don't have any complaints. I'm not ready to leave. I'm not looking to leave. I'm not going to run out and try to find another job. I'm getting what I need to get, and I am doing what I need to do as far as the way I want to run my business. Again, my driver coordinator or driver leader or whatever you want to call him, he has been great. He leaves me alone. He doesn't call me unless I need something, and I don't call him unless I need something. We understand each other, and that's great. The truck has been good, and excited to be maybe ordering a new truck and get in to do that. And just excited about what's going on over here. Really am. So, guys, if you like what I'm doing, if you want to get in on the Loadboard news and the money part of it, and want to get in and follow it along every week, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Give me some comments and tell me some feedback. Give me some Loadboard requests so I can pull those up for you guys. And we really appreciate you watching. Let me know the feedback on the volume. And then we'll hopefully do the next one on Wednesday morning. All right. Hey, you guys be safe out there. Have a good week. If you're leaving out, I know I used to leave out on Sundays. If you guys are leaving out today, be safe out there. If not, you leave out on Monday morning. Be safe out there. The freight will get there when it gets there. Don't rush around and be upset. And the road rage and stuff like that. These four-wheelers out here are crazy. Just get there when you get there. Your life is not worth it. And get some good rest, and we'll see you next time.